let me just quickly take you through the next couple of submissions, and then I did make a class recording of Tuesday's class, but of course, sorry, now there's a plane flying over. It's very poor timing. I mean, I thought I made arrangements with the Air Force, but they seem to do what they want. Don't interrupt me during my class. Okay, so first of all, so the class recording won't be of any use to you unless you really want to see other people's reviews, but I think it's useful for the individuals to just take note in any case, in case there is something wrong with the class recording. Just make notes when your animation's being reviewed. And then we tend to draw some obscure shapes and lines and things on the reviews themselves, but I don't know if they always make sense in their own right. So I think then you can always go and revisit the recording if there's a successful recording of it. For most part, this is the sort of process that we're going to follow and continue to follow, is like looking at stuff, and it's how it would work in industry as well, where you'd go for weekly reviews, and you'll show the animation director and your peers, most likely other animators, your shots, and then they'll get torn to pieces, and then you go home and you cry and you try again. That's the process of animation. Sometimes you get it right, and it's very I think we still have that on record. There's one of our, there's several of our alumni and graduates that end up becoming like professional animators, and they'll all tell you how hard they have to work and how often they have to redo stuff, and how meticulous they have to be at analyzing the shots. So this is really a very useful exercise, and it's a good experience in terms of how professionals would have to go through the process over and over again. So it might be frustrating for some of you. For some of you, it might be really valuable, and you'd become better at being animators, because ultimately you get better at it the more you practice it. Some people have a knack for it, so spotting certain key poses, but not necessarily executing on the final animation, because that takes practice and persistence. Okay, let's see, where are we? It's a bit tricky because sometimes it just jumbles up all the files. And let me just see where the new ones are. And my screen is this tiny because I'm sharing my, I'm mirroring it to the iPad so that I can draw on it, but it has its drawbacks. I think, okay, this is the animation passes. I may have skipped one or two blocking phases, and I'm not getting to all the production stages. I feel like feedback is still, there can be more feedback, only we don't have time to fit it all in. And especially if, I feel ill like a week or two ago, then it really puts a speed wobble in your progress. So I'm sorry for not keeping certain things up to date, like the production planning is still linked here, but I think it's sort of gone to the wayside because we need to focus on reviewing animation. So please do also show your peers beforehand, show your the rest of your group, share your work on Discord before submissions if you can at all, even if there's very small sections, because I still think everyone needs to be able to start picking up on patterns and things that people leave out, like not animating chests, not animating hips, not putting enough elbow or enough shoulder into it. Not like people often neglect to animate shoulders for some reason. So your arms kind of just fold in on themselves, and you have to watch that. So if you miss it, which even professional animators can sometimes, miss something that they didn't think of or didn't spot because they just got too into animating something else. Help each other out, give each other reviews as well. I'm pretty sure you can all draw on the Sync Sketch and make comments. So yeah, please use everyone's. Okay, this is just weird. Now it wants my personal account to sign in. Sorry, this happens sometimes where I had to sign out of all my accounts to get something working. I was working with this, by the way, going off tangent. This, Magnus, I think you also tried, I don't know if it was Google Earth Studio or this OpenStreetMaps conversion. So it's kind of like what Chris showed you in the rendering component with setting up Google Cloud Compute. So it's the same thing where you have to pull in all these little tiles from Google Maps, but it has to compute all the data associated with it. So if you finally pull it in, so this is quite a high resolution capture. I literally set it for like this little 0.1 by 0.1 kilometer radius around the Wits Planetarium, and it ended up generating like a 10 gig file. This isn't it. This is the crop of it. For some reason, it generated like a whole triangle, like a massive piece more, and it took like almost all night to compute. So it's a painful process, and I must say it doesn't really work on a street level quality. Like you can't use it as a set. You can use it as a backdrop. Wait, I added this thing so I could navigate around it, because this stuff ends up being so big that your camera gets lost. So yeah, it doesn't hold up like on this street level, but it does do quite nice like backdrops, and it gives you elevation, gives you the angle of the street. Yeah, I mean, it's not something that you would typically do in a 3D animation. You wouldn't like just tilt the street like that, but you know, it makes sense if you want to replicate something, or even if you just kind of want to see how things actually help the camera, because having flat streets all the time doesn't make for good compositions. So yeah, any case. So to wrap that long sidetrack story off or up, I had to switch developers accounts at some point because I needed the compute power, and that's why all my sign-ins are wrecked. Okay, so polished animation. Now that we've signed into Google Assignments, yeah, these files are humongous, by the way. I did a couple of them. Still sidetracked. I guess that's what it is. It's a scan. Their wireframes are horrendous. So not much chance of like fixing that up or patching it quickly. Okay, enough fixating over something. Animation process from one pass to the next. The next pass is polished animation. So this is when you actually really start tweaking the spacing of it. So the curves really going into the secondary animations. What is going to drag behind, or what is going to trail, or to have an effect based on whatever the other one is doing. We've started leaning quite heavily into layering animation, because I feel like this lends itself to that process. Like once you have your blocking in place, and once you have your basic movement and timing in place, it's the next step is just to sell that entire movement, to make that movement as believable as possible. So what we'll do is we'll take all these shots and then we'll add them to the animatic so that we have a full animatic. That's ideally what we want to do with the polished animation. I'm hoping we get to a stage. Some of the animation's looking really good. Some of it's still quite far off, so it ranges from shot to shot and from person to person. Just keep at it. You will eventually get better at it, even if you were born with a natural talent or not. It is something that you can practice and you can get better at. And the more you practice and the more you scrutinize your own work, the better you'll get at it. It takes a long time. The other assignment is the integration that I posted here, but it's only due in week 9. This will essentially just mean that you need to submit everything that you've worked on. So if there's anything else, if there's any layout that you've updated, if there's any other elements that contribute to your scene, you can bring that in, but you could also show off other things like that aren't necessarily visible in your composition. So even the rendering that you did, and the lighting, include that in this. You'll get credit for the bulk of work, not for the work itself, but for the amount of work that you've completed. 3D work that you've completed, and work on the film specifically that you've completed within this term. So it's there to bolster your animation work. So if animation is not your thing, but you actually spend some time trying to, I don't know, fix a rig or do some texturing or some additional layout or lighting, whatever you did on your film, that should still count towards some sort of progress mark. So that's an additional assignment for week 9 then. Like I said, you can hand that in at any time beforehand. Let's just head back all the way. Yeah, whatever. One more. No. Sorry, I thought the back button would be faster, but it's not. I think that's pretty much it. It's just the 2 assignments. It's this feedback that we're going to do today. If there's anything else, like we're sort of working on additional production elements on a larger scale in the background. Chris and I have been sort of trying to also just manage the scope of everything. We'd like to still present, and I did tell you about this last time, or perhaps in a different context, but we'd like to still present stuff at AviJosie, which is pretty much 20 days from now. So whatever renders, whatever elements that we can gather from the work that you submit for this term, essentially, we'll put into pitch decks and we'll present there as well. We'll have a screen and we'll put it together. So you'll be represented there if your work is good. That's essentially maybe the inspiration or kind of milestone that I want to put out there. If you want to have your work shown there, then put some effort in. We'd like to include it in a pitch deck. We'd like to take it there and show the executives. Cool. Almost there, but still a lot of work ahead. So, yeah. I know some of you, just a quick show of hands, how many of you are actually going to Japan? Yes? No? Any of you? Okay, there's 1 or 2 in the other group. That sounds exciting, but obviously you can't do any homework. There's a Euro tour again. Well, not a Euro tour. There's a tour. Everyone's very quiet. Okay. There was a moment yesterday where I couldn't hear anyone else. I don't know if that's the case. Someone say something?
We can hear you.
Ah, thank you. Yeah, the Japanese tour. Some people are going away, so obviously they won't be available. But if you're available to work, you also don't necessarily want to work on the holidays, so it's better to try and wrap it up. Work hard now, get it in, you get assessed for it, and then you can rest. Okay, so there we have it. Our last 2 weeks, we do, like Chris said, we do have another session next week just to kind of help out with integrating everything, so transferring animations, getting them into the right scenes, or at least an attempt to trying to merge everything. So that this hand-in is as successful as we can possibly make it. Next term, however, we're most likely going to do quite a lot of... the way it ends up in the last stretch of a production is that we typically kind of patch things and put together things and get everything that we, like, if it's not working, we make it work kind of approach to the animation. So there'll be an array of tasks to be completed, from matte painting to even render fixes, render wrangling, final lighting tweak, set optimization or scene optimization.
Completely.
Hey? Rebuilding stuff.
Rebuilding shots completely.
Yeah, if they're not working, if animation's not complete, more animation. So there's a large amount of work ahead, but also a large array of tasks. Um, but it's very exciting when you can sort of start getting shots in the can, and there's things that are actually like done. You know, like the shots working, the layouts working, the it's ready to render, and you almost have like a pre-comp that's already working. That's a great space to be in, and it's a great feeling when you can start getting those shots out. Okay, so to Sync Sketch. Oh yes, the last thing that I was also mentioning about this is that I did upload the additional ones that I received from Jessica, from who else sent me? Scott, I think you sent me some blocking that I didn't get to. Well, I'm just gonna I'm not gonna get stuck there because I'll obviously see a newer version of it. But maybe let's start there at least. So we start with the ones that we didn't get to last week. Is that cool with you, Scott? I saw you submitted updates.
Those the ones I sent in the chat.
Yes. No. These are the ones that you submitted this week.
Oh yeah, then these ones are different than the ones I sent in the chat last time.
Oh really? Did you go remove the one? I mean, did you redo them entirely?
No, we just like tweaked camera angles and stuff.
Okay. All right. No, that's fine then. Okay. So, wait. I'm in the blocking. Am I in the blocking? Okay. It's called blocking, so it's a little bit confusing, but because it's not, it can't be blocking anymore. Was this the original camera work? Is this new camera work?
It's basically the same.
Why don't I remember the shot?
I could have probably changed it. I don't know, but to me it's the same.
This is new camera work.
Is it new? Okay, because I did it like a while ago and then I just stuck with it.
Please check.
Yeah, it's much different.
Just check the animatics so that the original animatics, so that if you generate new shots, that at least they still suit the edit. Okay, we'll obviously see that when we put it all together again next week, but that's almost a bit too late because you shouldn't be deviating from the cameras too much. It's fine if there's slight variations, but as soon as you start changing the angle, then it messes up the continuity of the edit. And it also, like if timing changes happen, then it's almost impossible to accommodate that shot. Then we have to like recut that portion, and yeah, it just sends us back quite a bit. So try and stick to the game plan. The animatic is your guide. The animation itself, there's elements that move faster than others, but in general, I feel like your movements are very linear. So there's no hold poses and there's no easing in. If you look at the, okay, let me just get a little bit more real estate here. Sure are a lot of tabs open. So there's a key pose. Okay, I'm echoing, sorry. I don't know if that was me. Sorry.
Hey, you a woodpecker.
Yeah, that was a bit rough. I don't know what caused that, sorry. Okay, so where was I? That there's a obvious keyframe there, and there's no easing. So it does your head. If that was an animation curve, that's what it's doing, from key pose or from key pose to key pose. So it feels very robotic. What you want is an accelerated look at and then a hold. So it should, the keyframes should be faster, more spaced, and then taper in where they're on top of each other, right? So there's an easing of the movement. Like if you look at something, you snap your head and you hold it there. You don't, like, if you try and look at anything moving your head like a surveillance camera, you're not going to be able to actually see anything. So hold poses for longer. And it's also a common mistake that we pick up through the bank, is that you over animate. Get to your key poses, hold your key pose so that we can read the key pose and then move on to the next thing. Because he's already looked this way and picked up his hammer, right? He doesn't need to necessarily go the other direction yet. In any case, if you look around a room, you don't necessarily need to move your head all that much. Your eyes can do a lot of the heavy lifting. So rather, animate there, hold that position for a while, and then do a slight change in the next shot, so that he's just like kind of like looking this way. Otherwise, he's looking like a surveillance camera. He's not doing a performance. We're not feeling the angst that this character is supposed to be feeling. We're not emotionally involved in this character at all because he's behaving like a robot. Hold the pose for longer and then do a slight variation so that we can just read that silhouette nicely. I like this. It reads better. So move from here to there quickly. Okay, then there's, I don't mind that there's still movement. Like the slight falling of the arms. I feel it's way too much. Like you can hold that pose better. There should be subtle movements. Like no one's completely static. So if you stand for a long time, you'll shift your weight. You'll move your foot. You'll switch your weight to the other leg, and your hips will move. You'll be breathing, so your chest is constantly moving. Now, I don't want to say these things from the get-go and have you worry about that when you're doing your key poses, because often then, you just get so bombarded, or your graphs get so bombarded with animation information that it's hard to navigate, and you can't make a distinction between what is a key pose and what is just breathing animation. But that's something that you need to add in the end, so that when there are parts in animation that are completely dead, you need to kind of have your character subtly idle. Okay, so again, there's another key pose here, but then it just linearly moves to the next. So there's no interpolation yet. These things need to subtly move from the one to the next, and the key poses, or keyframes rather. No, not the right word either. Just the graph, the movement of the elements need to ease. Let's see. Okay. I don't remember. I think I did a section on facial animation and movement of eyes, and I don't see any blinks in this entire section, even though his head moves all the way to the other side and these eyes are floating. So you're doing exactly the opposite of what I showed, where if there's big head movements, you need to blink. If your eyes move, they dart from position to position, and they don't float ever. So there's nice elements that you have, like little flicker of the nostril. It was in here, I think. Oh, there's movement. Yeah, there's movement in the nostril. So that's cute. But like your head also, this could be a really comedic performance piece, like slight twitch of the eye, probably faster than what it's twitching currently. There's a little bit of lip movement. I press the lips. To see that movement, actually, I would go the opposite direction first. So where you have his mouth slightly open, I'd actually move that so that his lips are a little bit more pressed, like he's sort of swallowing, and then looks the other way. There just needs to be like a lot more like zippier movement. Like if his eye direction changes, he can do it before his head moves. He needs to like think of what's in his hand before he moves his head. There's intent. His brain moves faster than his body, essentially. So he thinks there's something missing, his eye darts to the side, and then he moves his head. That would be a better performance. So we need offset and we need clues as to what to look at. Currently everything is moving simultaneously and nothing is really communicating. The poses when you've actually sort of struck a pose, that works well. So there's really most of the work is still in the interpolation. Okay, sorry, stuck on this. Like I said, I'd love to give you more feedback, but I think try and move your keyframes closer to each other and hold them, and look at the interpolation so that your spacing works better. I want to see performance, and everything is very robotic at the moment. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go to the next. Okay, Sapphire Town. Next. Another one. More. Sapphire Town. Yeah, Martin, I feel like you're also kind of struggling with the interpolation of the movement and not holding those frames. Remember, when we do key poses, those are poses that we want to see for a longer period of time. It doesn't mean that your animation is just going to work because you have good poses. You actually need to hold them. So you need to set a key pose for that blocking pose that you had, but you actually need to hold it. So you need to replicate that key pose and hold it for instances, like keep it for 10 frames or keep it for 5 frames. There can be slight movement, but we want to see those poses. We want to recognize them. I'm just going to mute that. So I think mainly what's been introduced is the subtle movement in between, like what's happening to that thumb, that floating. That's because that keyframe's not being held. If she grabbed onto this handle, her hand would be stuck there. We're not going to see movement.
But it needs to be constrained.
Is it not? No, it's not. It does need to be constrained.
And I mean, it needs to be an arm pull, not a wrist flick. Like going forward when she pulls it down, the arm needs to
Yeah, she's gonna have some strain there. That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, she needs to pull down for her shoulder almost, and upper body. Then it's not a light switch.
I think when we saw this pose, this implies that she's putting weight on it, but it's not. Like it's fine as an anticipation pose, but the thing that's bringing it down would be the other arm. That would need to straighten out. And she's actually moving her shoulder down. Her weight. She's putting her weight on it. So even her hips would go down because she's pulling on it.
Read.
I like that you're opening the hand more. I'd only see it in the thumb though. I feel like as you're grabbing or moving towards the you would see that in the other fingers as well. So you'd actually see the fingers not curl back, but just open up wider in anticipation of grabbing the lever. And then the grabbing itself, the way that the fingers closing is offset, I think is quite nice. And I don't mind the subtle movement of the thumb, but you obviously can't have it intersect. So this is fine. It needs to grab at the time that it's moving. Then it needs to be static. But also, like Chris said, better to constrain it. What would you constrain? The wrist, the IK controller.
Yeah. Now the IK control you constrain to
that whatever's that to that lever's
to that thing, and then its animation down would move the hand.
Yeah, so that rotation would actually cause the hand to go down.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I mean, you will save hours and hours and hours just by starting off with constraint first than trying to bring it without it. Anytime when your hand is touching another object and they need to move as one movement, it has to be constrained. Like, there's just no question.
This poor man is breaking. He's breaking quite hard. That's ouch. Sorry, I can't make it smaller. That is ouch. I don't know if one can recover from that. Okay, maybe. But then, okay, I can kind of do it. I'm trying to do it. I think the main issue is that it feels like he's being held up at that specific point. It feels like that is what's carrying his weight.
I do want to say that is exactly what I was told to do. Last time you told it should be like a marionette being lifted by strings, by like the elbows and by like his neck.
Okay, but then he's got no strings on his hands. So where's the strings keeping his hands up?
I very much just looked at what they do, and some of them are just like from the elbow for some reason.
I mean, there'd be a dangle, but that feels just
I
too
think
much.
then
Okay.
let's see. Wait, it's a pose, but I think at this point when he's going backwards, he should have sort of been released from this kind of cat grip. It's almost like it's like how you pick a puppy up by its back. Maybe his head can even like tilt back again as his arms flail out, so that he's not just staying in that position either. And then if this is a cube pose, I would actually exaggerate it even more. I would like kind of like, let me try this. So if his head's hanging and his arms are up like that, feet dangling. Sorry, I'm not drawing but I just feel like there needs to be a point where he's like more arched. If that's the opposite of the spread out. Do you see what I mean? So if the character is more folded in a kind of almost a fetal position, like you could even bring his knees up a little bit then. Like if he's just being bent and then spread out, then there's more contrast in the movement. Does that make sense?
It does, and so it shall be.
Only everything is that simple.
You don't. None of you have to fundamentally like agree with us. You can make a case if you think that there should be a different movement in there. I think.
But Stefan's lying right now. He doesn't.
No, I think I know better because but I think in most cases it's not sort of like an opinion that differs, but rather it's something that you haven't necessarily considered or haven't gotten to yet. So it's purely just for the betterment of the shot. And if there's other ideas that could make it better, of course, it's valid. I dig the camera shake. Is he also shaking? Not really.
He is not. Should I add some shake to
I think
some of him?
Like it's like his chest would be kind of, because that's kind of like where the beam is hitting him. I'm sort of imagining like this.
I saw there's lightning from everywhere. like there's bolts of lightning coming out of the machine and from the cables, and the whole system's malfunctioning.
Okay. So all
He's
of
being
it.
electrocuted.
All of it all. Okay. And then there's like 1,000 little strings attached to. That kind of idea. Like lifting him from everywhere.
Yeah, from the points that are being pulled, so
Okay.
his elbows and his knees, and like randomly across his body.
Okay. Cool. I don't know how to. I don't know how to do this other than to show you. So I'm gonna. I'm just gonna show you. So if he's getting electrocuted, and his whole body is being pulled through the air, I still think that his and if his weight is all here, or if this is what's sort of, because that's the impression that you get with his arms down like that, that he's getting, that this is what's holding him up. Also with the neck down, so all the weight and everything's here. The shaking would probably kind of originate from the chest bone, I'd imagine. So if there's a movement, I guess it's happening in the shoulders and the kind of the chest and the upper body, and then the rest would kind of like reverberate and be offset, kind of shake. Anyway, okay, enough. This, I just think I'm a bit close now. Okay, well, there's obvious things that occur when you stretch certain limbs and you're not close enough. I feel like your chest is sort of staying behind, it's still pointing. It's like that. So the arm is having trouble getting to the. So if you brought the chest down more or faster, then your arm wouldn't have to pull so far because it's breaking. It's stretching there. So the stretch is fine. Sometimes stretch looks cool in animation. You just need to get rid of these pops. So when the elbow shoots out like that, because it's not stretching anymore. So if you see those, you're going to need to key those or filter them out. But I think it's just because your chest is already higher than what it needs to be. You can still bend it. It can still be down here. Source of gravity is still his spine more than his chest, and then you can open it up as he gets up. So pull it back here. Now something is quite mangled here. I don't know what happened. I suspect it's because his shoulder is still way tucked, so just watch out for contorting the body that way. I think you need to bring that shoulder out faster. It's twisting. It was twisting the other way and then popping out. Check that shoulder animation, it's doing weird stuff. So I'm assuming that this hand is not constrained because it's kind of gliding on his, it's not quite stuck on his leg, but it's a pretty noble effort, keeping them together. I would maybe just sell it a bit more. If there's floating, at least allow the hand to kind of straighten a bit, or the wrist, and open one or two of the fingers so that his palm is resting on his kneecap, or it slides down so that his palm is resting on his kneecap, and he's not strictly holding on to it, but because you can see that he's not. So you need to open up the fingers a bit so that the hand is allowed to, like, basically constrain that part to the two origins, the origin of the hand and the shin, the start of the shin, or the knee for that matter. Those two need to move together, but the hand can rotate on that pivot. if those are closer together. So the hand, at this point, the hand's already kind of like open and more relaxed. This knee slams down quite fast as well. And the feet they're going through the floor. So I know the butt's going through floor. I don't know how you're going to solve that, but you might get away with it by, like with the way that the clothes are maybe, like that could, sorry, that thing happening over there is probably just a weight issue or something. It feels like the leg is moving from that origin. Or the bone is here, but the leg is kind of doing its own thing. So I think that's fine, but you need to get the feet planted on the ground. So just make sure that they're not intersecting. Footwork's pretty good. That knee slams down, but it's okay. Yeah, it's just the last foot. It's a bit strange. It slides. It looks a bit lazy, and it bends quite a lot. I don't know if it's necessary to bend that much, but I'd just plonk it down faster. So, because his weight, there's no way that his weight's on there at the moment. He's about to fall, so you need to bring that foot in quick, plant it down, put the weight on there. The roll's pretty good. See if there's anything else I can pick up. What's this arm doing? Or the shoulder's not doing enough at the moment. It's very stiff, so just yeah, that can fold in a little bit. And he doesn't actually swing that arm through. Whatever's happening over here, that's not giving him any support. He's using momentum to get up, as far as I can tell. So he's rolling around. So when he's rolling around and he's throwing his weight forward like that, this arm won't fold in like a little T-Rex arm that it's currently doing. It'll fling back. So from there, it'll straighten out and it'll actually fling back, so that he has enough weight, enough momentum to, because this arm is forward, that arm is back. Like a sprinter would try and drive his force forward. That arm will straighten out, and then you can bring it forward to grab the knee as he's put the pressure on that. So at that stage, the hand can be back. Out. It's maybe a bit quick. Then it gets a little stiff. So just to relax it. There's a lot of shoulder movement here. I feel like it might be a bit too much. Just tone that down. And we definitely want to see some blinking action. I don't feel that he's expressing enough facial movement throughout. I don't think there's any that I've seen. So yeah.
I do want to ask something.
Yeah.
The face rig, and I'm not sure how to fix this. When I linked it into the scene, his right eye is like synced into his face, and I'm not sure why, and I'm not sure how to fix it.
I
You have
can't.
to look at the file.
Yeah, I'd have
Yeah.
to look at the file.
It could be that your look-at control, like, rotated all the way around his head more than once, so that the eye bone has kind of flipped or something.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Yeah, you have to rotate technically you can't just, if he's flipping around and that look-at control is just always in front of him, then those bones may rotate over them like more than 360 degrees, and then it could break. I don't know. So if you just keep the look-at control in front of his face the whole time, then chances are it won't do that.
And I like the shoulder roll that you did at the end. I just feel like the extreme pose of his shoulders are maybe a bit too extreme. They're very down.
Okay.
And before his shoulders roll back, his chin might just drop a little bit. Or as what do you no, actually you anticipate with your, just feel what your neck's doing when you roll your shoulders back. There's definitely some follow through animation on the neck that's not occurring. It's like you almost lead with your I can do the camera thing again. I'm trying to like sort of just like you just got up, you're drunk, punched out, or shocked, or whatever. Get up and you okay, your shoulders are really low, and then if you roll it back, it's kind of like you roll it back and then your head kind of lifts afterwards. So there's a secondary motion of the neck. I'm exaggerating it, and I'm probably looking very stupid, but just feel your
Not
neck.
at all. I understand what you say.
Okay, let's take a short 5-minute just to take a breather. It's the middle of the class. Stretch your legs. Get back to the rest in a minute. Can do the movement or the constraint or the weights. What's happening?
So what I did is I tried to use a like a sort of cable method, so that when I move it, then it like deforms nicely and stretches a bit and add the cost simulation. So that way it just looks a bit better than having to like manually do each shape key and key it exactly so that it gets the right movements.
Okay, all right.
So I've got it so that it looks okay. I just have to now get it onto my character and make sure that the sort of overall, because I'm using hooks,
Okay.
so just to make sure that it just looks a bit neater.
Okay, so I don't have an updated animation from
Yeah,
you.
no, I'm like,
Okay. All right. Do still
But I have
submit though.
things-
If you do make progress and you haven't or I haven't seen it, do still submit to that assignment and just let me know when it's there. I think it'll still be useful. I mean, you still need feedback at that interval, so whenever you get to it,
Yeah.
submit it. Let me know.
Yeah,
And I'll give you feedback. Okay.
yeah, thanks.
Okay. I can do tomorrow. I think at some point, if that's fine. But
Yeah,
if I forget,
it's
just
Tuesday,
send me a ping.
So I'll do it again or something.
Okay.
Thanks.
Cool. Yeah, you're gonna also have to constrain those hands. Or, well, if you're just pushing off and they're in IK, they shouldn't move. Why would they move? If you move your hips, do they move? Why does it?
Yeah, I think it's because I moved the hips, then the hands decide to slide. Because before I moved the camera in closer, you could see the whole body, so it's probably affecting the weight over there.
The movements in between the key poses still seem very rigid. Okay, so yeah, constrain those bad boys to something. Your elbows might, if you push down, they might have to. I think they move up as you push down. Is that what they're doing? They'll move up first, and then as he releases, they'll drop down again. So I think that they're moving in the wrong direction as he pushes. Push down on the table and see what happens. Your elbows go up. No? I'll do the face thing again. Maybe I should just keep my camera on. I wouldn't want to punish you all like that, though. You push down. Elbows go up first, and then they drop down afterwards. So just perform the actions. Like as you get into whenever you move, like because you've got your poses now, but whenever you wonder about what needs to happen to the body as it interpolates it, perform that action and see, okay, well, this is the natural movement or the tendency of my body to do that once I shift my weight there or once I put the pressure on my arms. So just try and act it out. So yeah, there's a very sudden pause in his movement. So he kind of goes from the one side to this side, but like stops. So it's almost like you want to see a little bit of a follow through with his head, his whole body movement. It's that kind of idle thing that I spoke about earlier with Quentin's animation as well. You tend to forget that the body sways naturally from side to side, and some of the movements stop very abruptly. Okay. Do you animate in this actual scene? Or do you? But you at least hide the environment when you're animating, right? So that you're just seeing this.
No, it works very smooth. I don't hide it. I just put on simplify.
Okay, but I feel like you should. I feel like you need to get all the distractions out of the way and literally just focus on the movement from, like, not just from this camera angle, but literally just the walking and stopping movement. The camera movement and everything's fine, and the performance, I think the timing of the performance is fine, but the actual walk cycle is fairly broken. There's a knee pop this way, and then there's a knee pop there when the other foot stretches out, and then there's another jerk over here, and then that leg pops out over there. So out of the 70 frames,
I hate to be a nagging man, but at this point, we really also need to be seeing it on 12 frames per second. It makes the biggest difference. Because now you're looking at animation that's not going to be there.
Yeah, it might not be there, hey? It might, though.
It might, but again, it really needs to be.
Yeah, because we're actually supposed to be saving time with animation because we're using less frames, but we're not seeing those frames being reduced. We're seeing everything. So the sooner we can reduce the frames, the fewer mistakes there'd be in the animation.
Yeah. So you should, from the get-go, have that stop mode thing enabled.
Yeah, we're animating too many frames at the moment, and reviewing too many frames. That would improve it, but I wouldn't go make a whole walk cycle for the whole thing. I just feel like even at this rate, maybe if we go double, like that feels better. His movement, his movement doesn't have to absolutely sync with the shot either. You can have him come in and stand there and look up while the rest of the shot still continues. So that's double the frame rate, and that doesn't feel too bad. So speed it up and put it on 2 frames, then you're going to have like probably a quarter of the amount of keyframes that you're working with. And that would make it super easy. You're gonna have you're gonna have half the work.
Yeah, I just forgot to put on the stop mo.
And crunch your frames. I think it's still happening. He doesn't have to take so long. His animation can be slightly faster. And then you can iron out those pops and make sure that they don't occur. I like your shots though. Every time I see them, I really get a sense of the film. You know, they're epic, and they should be. They'll be good shots if they're well animated. So you need to, have at it. It's not one of those some people have shots that literally just, well, not all your shots are equal, to be honest. Some of them are less exciting, but that's not your fault. It's just the nature of the shot. The epic ones are the ones.
I kind of like my shots. They're very cinematic.
Her animation is better than his because it's very subtle.
Yeah, it's too big.
It's too much is happening.
Yeah, I changed his
The super shoulder shrugging feels like he's,
Okay.
You have too many poses, and again, if you were in 12 frames per second, you wouldn't have nearly as many, and it would look different.
I think her action can occur, but look, even if I just scrub through it, you can see that if I ramp that speed of her doing that action and holding her pose for longer, it seems like she has more intent. Do you agree?
Yeah.
See, you just need that, and then you can hold it because she can move slower. She's just breathing here. She's already performed the action. She can maybe do another blink in between, but you could crunch that animation into a smaller portion. She does the right kind of stuff. She's anticipating the move and everything. It's just, she would also probably blink as she lifts her head. So I'd blink there.
I don't think that trick has blinks yet, though.
Okay.
It doesn't.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay, but this guy's freaking out. He's got.
And then just his head moves there without his shoulders moving, and it feels very unnatural. There, suddenly his head snaps.
I also wouldn't start. I wouldn't start a frame with the character dead center facing. Yeah. So you could almost start it here. He's just a little. His neck seems a bit crooked. It seems like it's doing.
And there's weird deformation on his neck there under his ear that not there in the beginning, but then stays there. But I think also for these two shots, I mean, you need to bear in mind what's narratively happening as well. If we were to cut these two shots out of the film before the trailer and they were busy having a dialogue where they said we need to go to the bad guy and she doesn't agree, what are they? There's likely going to be some lip sync animation here as well, even though you don't hear what they're saying. And I think that's also going to have some impact on the body's actions. So you need to communicate in these two poses that he's saying, but we have no other choice. And she says, I don't agree with you. I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah. I just didn't get enough time on the boy now that I really look at it.
Okay, I'm just experiencing some lag. Give it some time to load. She's got a bit of hip action, hey? She's there's a little bit of extra cheek there. You got some extra swinging.
I don't know what I scaled, but
you can definitely just look at your curves. There's a lot of inconsistent movement. I mean, for just 2 or 3 steps of a walk cycle, it should be pretty fluid, But if you look at specifically the hips moving forward, and side to side. It feels like there's very inconsistent movement there.
There's this extra little bit of, just got this cheeky hip swing. Din, 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 din. Check the hips. I liked the. It's almost like this should also be faster. Oh, and once again, yeah, on the 2 frames. I get the sense that she's stepping. I like her movement, her overall body movement. Her shoulders are a bit stiff, maybe, and her arms don't swing that much. But I like her overall floatiness and trajectory. I think that works. You could probably do with a little bit more of a kind of like a slight head bob, because she's got these fantastic hairballs that would do really well with a little bit of a bounce. Yeah. So her as she her foot impacts, her chin can drop just a little bit, bounce just a little bit. Ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding, ding-a-ding. Yeah, so there's an extra key or two here in her hips where it's not moving in the right direction. Maybe it's just a bit too much. So she does a little bit of a hip flick jig. And then, yeah, there's a little bit of a, like if I scrub through, I can see like a jitteriness, and that's probably on the curves. So you've probably got a keyframe and a keyframe and a curve doing something like that. It's that little jiggle bit that's, yeah, these curves need to ideally flow and ease into each other. So that's probably what's happening there. I'm getting a little bit worried that there's too many of the same type of like shots just from the back, where we don't really need to see all that much of the back of the character. So it might be nice for him to just like kind of glance over at her as they're walking, just to have a little bit more of a dynamic shot. Just it can just be a slight. I mean, I've exaggerated the head all the way now, but that doesn't have to. It can just be
Yeah,
like,
there could be some interaction.
yeah. Sort of reassuring her. Not just like, it shows that he cares. Okay. I don't get the sense that this character is planted when it's moving. It's probably because there's no knee bending. I don't know if you don't have knees, you need to kick out your feet and move them that way. But there needs to be an obvious leg that's supporting the character, and when it's doing that, you can see both legs are moving at the same time. It's sliding. So only one leg's allowed to lift at any point in time, and then the leg that's lifting will most likely, well, rather the opposite leg will most likely be straighter, and you'll have your hips kind of like lift in that direction, because it's supporting the weight of the character. So there's that. I like the frantic animation. I don't know about the camera. It's also, it feels like I haven't seen this camera before necessarily, but if the head moves this frantically and we have and we don't have blinks on the character, we need other things to show us that it's still a thing. So we need a fall off or a offset as the head quickly moves. So if the movement is okay, so that ear is here and that ear is here. If it moves suddenly, this ear might drag behind and this one this way. Then it'll flick back, so it'll come there, there, there. This one does. Let's see if that makes sense. Probably way too many lines to make sense of it, but you can see that there's a drag. So there's a drag and a pop through, pop back. And then I think it's not reading as well as the key poses might have. So especially when the character cowers away, then we've got a key pose here, and it works because we feel sorry for the character, but it doesn't hold it long enough. It immediately looks up, and then it's already up over here. It would be better to still have that pose, like kind of concerned, hold it for longer, and then all of a sudden look up and look around. More frantic. So hold the poses, especially when they're like, oh my goodness, now she's seen something. Hold that pose, and then cower. There's still a lot of time. So I think what happened is we had good blocking poses, and they're just not being kept for long enough. So it becomes less of a performance piece and a little bit more of a guessing game of what the character's thinking. You need to, it's force the interpolation, force the computer to show you the frames that you deemed important, because currently it's doing an indiscriminate kind of pass over everything, and it's showing everything is easing into everything else. Everything's blurry, everything's melting. We need to specify the key poses and hold them for longer. Just a second, my dog sounds like it's overheating, so I just want to take her outside, shoot her. Just a sec. It was a reference to an old Parks and Recreation joke. I won't really shoot my dog. Okay. Yeah, the performance got a little bit muddled. Try and keep your key poses for longer. Might have uploaded some duplicates by the looks of things. I don't know if we have this much time. This is what? How long is this? It's 20 seconds of animation.
There is an alternative there, so
Okay.
half of that might be used, half might not.
Yeah, I'd say especially now that we're kind of like really honing in on the animation itself, you could probably cull the ones that we're not using and just focus on the ones that are working. Like I like this piece.
I think most of it depends on our contact session tomorrow, because if we manage to get the city to work properly,
Okay,
then
it will change the
none of
cameras.
those first 3 shots will be used,
Okay.
essentially.
Okay, but you did work on this one a bit again.
And I
This,
do have an updated version of that final one, 801,
okay, okay.
which I'll just send in Safari Time chat.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we'll reconvene tomorrow then.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not going to comment too much on this. Let's chat about it tomorrow.
All right.
I feel like we did this. Is this a duplicate? What's going on? Whose shots? Is everyone's shots here? Or am I just... What is happening? This I haven't seen. This is new. Okay, great. This one just feels slow.
Yo, so I made a kind of a slow-mo one, and then the next one should be a full-speed one with more animation on the guy on the top. He's like walking, he's kind of turning around.
I don't think that's necessary. I like the looking down, and I like the looking up at the end as well. But
Then he doesn't have to walk away.
don't let him.
Next
walk
shot
away.
can just cut to him already
Turn around, okay.
around. Yeah.
Keep the looking up for later. Let him look down for a little bit longer before he gets up. He's waiting for him to hit the ground, right? Oh, but he can't see him hit the ground.
There he goes, and then it's like, oh, okay, cool. My job's done.
Yeah, you've got
He
the
doesn't.
you've got the poses in there, and the extra movements also in there. I just think you've got too much happening towards the end. So like hold those for longer. Here it feels like his shoulders a bit stiff. Oops. I don't know what just happened there. Let me just try and navigate back to. Yeah.
His shoulder can be much higher.
Shoulders too far down, so
Yeah.
you need to rotate that up. And this hand is doing a little bit of a funny.
Yeah.
I would
You should be more relaxed.
I would actually do a fist. I
Is
would,
it okay?
I would do a sort of a fist like that.
Tense.
Like coming in from that to a fist, or just a fist from
No,
the
a
start?
fist from the start, and then it could lift it could lift a little bit later to become this. This is fine. This is him like kind of like ooh, I know. Yeah. And then that's a relaxed, like ha.
Big laugh, yeah. Be terrible.
And that makes sense.
Don't walk away. Because we
I
got
didn't
this.
do
Yeah.
the face fully here, but the guy in the back is basically.
It's better. It's definitely something's work. He just does this for too long. Like there should still be a little bit of foot and hand movement over here, even though he's hovering.
Yeah. Okay.
Even if it's just like subtle fingers that are settling or something, but it can't be. He can't maintain the same pose throughout. As his body goes up and down, we'd probably see a little bit of. I hate it when I do this. I accidentally touch it with my palm, and then it. So there'll be a slight
Bobbing.
sort of readjustment for the bobbing up and down. His head will sort of attempt to stay stable, but will have a slight offset.
Okay.
Yeah, he needs to be far looser.
Okay.
Okay. I think for most part I get a sense that the animation is kind of on track. Like your animations are working, your key poses are working. We're reading the animations quite well. There might just be need for, well, there is a need for just final polishing and making sure that everything works well. I don't know what's this little guy floating over here?
Yeah, I don't know. It's part of the
That's
face.
his, it's his eyelash
eye,
that's
okay.
mirrored.
Of course it is. Okay,
It's not a
not a biggie.
No, that's
Okay. Okay, let me just quickly. Where was it? Because I skipped the first one, I think.
yeah, where's the top down?
While he's doing this, I would also make a fist, like clench his fingers.
Okay.
Like it looks like he's about to like get ready to punch him, but he actually all he needs to do is just drop him. I don't know if that is. His hand looks a little relaxed. I would like kind of try and push that thumb into his jawbone, like push it up and increase pressure as he's holding him. And I feel like there should be a little bit more panic in the man's hands. Like there's not enough
Yeah.
curly
You should
fingers.
like
and-
kind of,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
It-
Yeah, he's like gently caressing his forearm at the moment,
You know.
where he should be like clutching or grabbing at him, trying to like pull him off or something.
yeah.
And then that hand of the bad guy should also have a bit of reaction to his movement. He won't be holding him dead still. There'd be some wobble in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
This chest movement that you're doing, this worming kind of thing, is cool, but it could probably have a little bit more
Very
panic
frantic as well.
in it. Let's see.
Yeah, much
Yeah,
bigger.
more hip movement probably, and a little bit more chest. So the whole thing just needs to kind of
More exaggerated.
yeah. There should be more.
It could be cool if you think like maybe this guy's not actually trying to kill him, but it's like more of a threat. And then he tries to kick himself loose or something. And then when he kicks the bad guy, then he more accidentally drops him than anything else. So it's actually his own action
Yeah,
that
like
causes him to
escapes.
fall. Yeah. So I think that, yeah, definitely more leg action. And maybe even tries to like kick him in the face or something and then he falls.
You can like kick him in the chest. So try and kick him in the face where he hits his chest and then he like drops him.
And then there he needs to fall like through the camera. So he
So
needs to
much
really,
closer to the camera. Is the
Yeah.
camera angle fine? Or should it be more to the bottom of the?
I think the distance from where it's happening is fine. I think just it needs to, like when he falls, he needs to like fill half the frame just about as he goes
Yeah.
past.
Okay. And then the like depth of field basically, will that focus on the bad guy and then this guy falling goes out of focus?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah, the focus will be at the top when he falls through.
Okay. Cool. I'll definitely apply all those changes.
This is still sort of slow mo, or
Yeah, and there's do you have the shot in between these two, David? Not that it's super important, but it's the sequence isn't that important. Just,
Yeah, this was not meant to be slow mo. It came out like this, and I'm not entirely sure why.
oh wait.
your spacing. Sorry, your time.
Yeah,
No,
but
I've
it's
sorry.
okay.
Don't worry. I've messed up. I messed up. Oh, it's still a
It's
little
still
bit.
wet.
Okay.
If you have too many frames in between the one pose and the next.
His hand would fold and pull back as he connects. I still would like to see more of this character's back. I still feel.
I'd reverse it though. I'd have
Yeah.
him punch him like not backhand him.
Oh, reverse the shot.
Yeah, that's more the action than a backhand. You know, rather have him punch him properly than. That's just me personally. I think it'll be at least the action, not the shot necessarily.
Doesn't quite work in reverse. Not
No,
just
no.
reverse. Yeah.
No, you wouldn't just be able. You'd have to go and change the animation.
Yeah.
But I think actual. Didn't you have him punch him from the beginning?
No. It's always been a backhand strike.
This guy's not bobbing enough. The cars are cool. Cars are doing stuff. I don't know if their wheels
Yeah,
are
I still
turning.
need to work on the guys. I don't know what happened with the wheels. They seem to be working previously, and then they stopped. I don't know if I switched something off or.
So if you have him facing with his back towards us more, then the pulling of the rifle kind of pulls him towards us. And I also think the impact of the punch will have, well, the punch will have more impact if you pulled him pulled him into it and then punched him.
That's kind of what I've been trying to go for.
So then you need more contrast with this first shot. Let's see his back facing forward. So that's his spine. You can even keep the gun in the arms where it is. Just have the body that way. So when also he'd probably have to do a proper grip on that and not just a push down. So he's
Yep.
actually grabbing the tip of the gun, pulling it. And I wonder if you shouldn't try and rather like kind of like it's more of an elbow kind of action towards the chest. So he pushes him away because maybe he's not like a punchy fella. Maybe he's just trying to like. He doesn't have powers or anything. He's just a boy tackling this dude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
So I don't know if he'll punch him in the face. I think he might just try and push him, like shove him off with his.
So like bash him with his shoulder or something just to push him
He's
away.
elbow him.
Yeah.
Or like something.
So it's
I think.
so that's more the contact point than the
Yeah.
face.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to, I don't know, I don't think hitting someone with the back of your hand, whereas if you have your elbow there, you're going to do far more with that.
Yeah. So he's trying to
Yeah, you
push the guy with his forearm. I would just then lower lower it like I have it over here. So his hand would still be a fist, but he's like pushing in that direction with his elbow. And then we can have more of the body kind of like lean in. And you could even lift this. Well, no, we can't lift the arm because that's what's keeping the gun down. But we could stretch that further. So the gun's over here now. Then we'll see an overall body movement towards that side. So you can move his whole chest and everything because he's putting a shoulder into it.
Yep.
Then I like this move. I like this. This is cool. This is. I just want to see that contrast from the start. So if we had him coming in, getting pulled this way, then he gets pulled over this way because of his gun, and then punched back, and we'd even have like an extreme where it's like, oops, like his head's down and his body's arched this way because he's just been punched in the chest, right?
Yeah.
Oof, and then out, yeah. Ooh. Cool. Let's see. Olivia didn't comment on the slow-mo. Why are there so many duplicates? Tyrone, check tomorrow. Martin, did we look at this? Yes.
Yep.
Did we do everyone? We looked at another one in the beginning, so this is just a...
There should be more. Aren't there more from Night Terrors?
Checked. Let me see. This is what I downloaded. If I missed something... That's it. I don't have any others. That's all that's submitted.
Don't Night Terrors people have more Night Terrors people?